This is a cultural topic, and I saw that you liked this post, and I thought we had to discuss it. There's this growing trend of doll moms. They're called doll moms on social media, and these are women who don't have kids of their own yet or don't plan to have kids of their own, and they go and they have, some of them have 5 dolls, some of them have 6 dolls, and they're raising these dolls like they're real children and documenting it online. And I think there's this one woman, she has like 8 or 9 dolls in her house, and she feeds them and they have routines and she burps them. And for me, when I watch this, right, there's a whole, narrative going on right now about these liberal single white women who report having the highest rates of mental health issues. And all of these polls, they report being unhappy, they have more mental health problems. And there's this big push, obviously, on the right for the nuclear family, conservative values, having children. That's what Charlie Kirk was espousing all the time. Have kids, get married, settle down, even if you got to struggle, right? Especially we have the birth rates at an all-time low, according to the CDC. So when I see these doll moms, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I will turn it over to you, Lydia, because I imagine you have some thoughts on this.
I think I need to caveat this by saying that I am currently unmarried woman in New York City. I have a long-term boyfriend, but I'm not married. I don't have children yet. So I just want viewers to be aware of that. But this is something I've been thinking about so much and just paying attention to in my own social circles here in New York. And I think a lot of this is a tragedy to me because I think most women, they don't want to say it because culturally it's still sort of frowned upon because women are supposed to want to be boss babes all the time.
Right.
But most women want to get married and have babies and have a family. And that is so fulfilling and important. And again, there's exceptions, but my overwhelming number of friends all feel that way. And what they would say is that young men kind of suck. And so I think part of the way that we get young women, 84% of whom voted for Mamdani in New York, to be a bit more moderate is to make sure that young men are like getting it together, getting out of their parents' basement and getting married to these young women. And so I think a lot of this is born out of not being able to find a partner who is like remotely motivated or intelligent. And it's funny because my mom would always say this. I grew up in like Portland, Oregon area. And this was like 20 years ago now, but we would see people like pushing dogs in strollers and cats in strollers.
It's like Naples,
And
Florida.
and I think like there is this maternal instinct and probably paternal instinct that men have too, where it's like it's just a very evolutionary, natural thing to want to have a family. And we don't value that or it's frowned upon in society. And so people like funnel it into these really bizarre sort of hobbies where then like they have doll. The thing too is I'm like, why is somebody filming themselves do that?
Right.
Like
Set up on a tripod. It's very
that's like
bizarre.
the thing I cannot wrap my head around. But I think it's totally an acknowledgement that like what the right is pushing in terms of family values is the most natural thing. And if you don't acknowledge it, like you're gonna become a psycho who's like recording yourself getting your dolls up in the morning. I don't know.
It's
Like
it's almost like a horror film, and I bet you like A24, a movie studio is probably working on a horror film about this right now. Like it almost reminds me of what was that movie with the doll, the robot doll from a few years ago? What
oh
was her name? Like
God.
Molly or Sarah? Anyway, it just reminds me of that. But no, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm never shaming people when I talk about single women without children. I'm never shaming. One thing I say almost every episode is shout out to the women who are watching us at home alone right now. They're women who have been widowed, who maybe lost a kid,
Yeah.
who have had bad luck with love, and that's the hand they've been dealt in life. I have no issue with anybody being single. What I find bizarre is that these women, and when I look into these doll moms and I go through their pages, a huge
How was
majority of
that a
them
phrase, by the way? A doll mom. Like
doll mom. When I look at these doll moms, Lydia, and I go to their pages and I research, okay, they look liberal to me, right? They hate Trump. You look at their other posts, a lot of them have Trump derangement syndrome. They're at home raising these dolls. That to me is what's so sad, and I think speaks to this larger cultural conversation of, okay, these liberal, sort of affluent women, right, in some of these enclaves like New York City who watch MSNBC all day long and sort of read this blue anon content, they're perfectly content not having kids because they were told, hey, be boss babes, focus on your career. But then isn't it kind of sad that they're at home raising dolls, and it just gives me the creeps. The
right.
whole thing gives me the creeps, right? And I agree with what you said about this issue with young men because there's, I think, 1 in 5 young men are what we call NEET, which means not in education, employment, or training, right? There are millions of young men in
Stay
this
at
country
home
who've totally,
sons.
what?
Stay-at-home sons. Like
Stay-at-home sons, yeah.
that's the
And it's
thing
like
now.
there are millions of men who have checked out from society, whether it was like COVID, whether it was like being beaten down, maybe it was a little bit of retraction from the Me Too movement. There are a lot of things that added into why a lot of men said, we're done, we're checking out from society. It's AI coming in, I think, and taking some of the jobs, and they just feel like we can't get ahead. The American dream's unattainable to us. We'll never own a home. We'll never have the white picket fence and the wife. So I think it all comes together with this doll mom
Yeah.
situation. It'll be interesting to see the trend take off. Would you recommend, before we move on to the last topic, would you recommend these doll moms seek some type of therapy and counseling? Or do you think there are some people who are perfectly fine at home
Or
raising their
download a
dolls?
dating app. Okay, just
Yeah.
one more point I want to make because I've been trying to understand how these women have become so radicalized.
Hmm.
And I was talking with my brother about this. And if you think about it, like most of these women are at the age where they would have in any other period in time, like be devoting their energy and their obsession and their love to family and maybe like also work too.
Hmm.
But now that we're so socially isolated, they're putting that towards politics and being really extreme. And the other piece of this, and Erica Kirk addressed this at the Deal Book conference last year, basically like you look at these women and they kind of want the government, not even in a financial way, but
Hmm.
it's like they want the government to sort of be the husband or the family that they don't have. And it's just sad because you're not going to get that fulfillment from the government or from a doll that like you need from other human beings.
Totally. I mean, when we look at even the Democrat platform, especially this sort of democratic socialism, it's more government overreach, it's more government controlled housing, government controlled transportation, everything the government calling the shots. Whereas folks on the right and libertarians and independents are like, we want small government, we want less government, we want to fire half the people in government and then fire
Yeah.
another half. And so it is interesting. I think these women do expect folks like Mom Donnie and others to parent them in a way or take the reins. And I do feel like
Yeah.
even with the president, with President Trump, I say it's like he is the father of the country. He is a father figure of the country. And I think that's what has a lot of these liberal women really upset because maybe they had daddy issues and he's just sort of like the paragon of that for them and pulls it out. Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa's chips contain just three ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste incredible too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash, bloat, or gross, sluggish feeling afterwards. You won't find yourself binging and feeling hungry. Personally, my favorite flavor of Masa is the original. If you love Masa, then you'll love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious three-ingredient potato chips I've ever had. My favorite flavor is Smokehouse Barbecue. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code LINK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim the delicious offer. And if you don't feel like ordering online, Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket, so stop by and pick up a couple of bags before they are gone.